Has this started, or are we just
we're just rolling. You like it, huh?
Well, nobody gave me a and go, so I didn't know.
Well, that's the radio personality.
Okay.
You're waiting for that cue from the producer.
All right, well, hey, welcome to the... Hi, I'm Joe Rogan.
This is amazing. Yeah, you've created a lot of controversy with your Spotify account lately.
Yeah, I really have.
It's talking about the vaccine.
It's disappointing that Joni Mitchell doesn't support me. And, and she was once relevant for 3 years in the 60s, and so...
Yeah, what about Neil Young?
Pretty upsetting.
How ironic is that? Because it's like Neil Young's talking about rocking in the free world, but yet he wants to cancel somebody.
Yeah, my big issue, I suppose, is the very people that are telling you to listen to the government are the exact same people that their entire life was based on rebellion from the government and telling you the government is not going to be straight with you.
Right.
I mean, he wrote Ohio after the Kent State Massacre with the National Guard, and, Neil Young was very upfront about his distaste for governmental figures, and all of a sudden, it's like...
Toeing the line.
And you know what? All these people that are criticizing Joe Rogan, I would like to know how many people have actually listened to Joe Rogan. I bet they have not. So it's just a talking point.
Yeah.
And they should do themselves a favor and actually listen to it. I don't count myself as a Joe Rogan fan, but he's just like anyone else. I want him to be able to say what's on his mind.
Yeah.
Really, all he does is invite interesting people and ask them questions.
Right.
That's really what the Joe Rogan experience is.
I love it.
I mean, I'm not sure what your experience, the Kevin Sandifer experience is here, but...
well, I'm no Joe Rogan for sure.
Sir, I knew Joe Rogan, and you are no Joe Rogan.
I know, but I see you're rocking his haircut. So.
Well, it's the old bald white guy look. Yeah. So what do you want to talk about here?
Everything.
Besides what we're already talking about.
We're just hanging out. I mean, so obviously you and I have known each other now going on
10 years, I would guess. As long as you've been making beer
so
here
this is
officially,
our
legally.
10-year anniversary, and I'm just stoked that you came in, and we're going to just talk about some different things. And you're part of our storyline. I respect the fact that as I've grown this business or have continued through it over the last 10 years, and Lord knows I've stepped on some landmines and watched some people come and go, and but to still be here after 10 years. And look back at the relationships. It's so cool, all the different personalities that are part of the community.
It's been fun to watch what you've become here, though, too.
Yeah.
And not with just one location now. So if you consider, and some people aren't even aware of where you started.
Right.
As far as some people are concerned, maybe new people to the area, Haywood County, Canton, whatever. A lot of people do know. But some people don't realize where you started, where the original location was. And I was trying to even describe it to someone, and it didn't even sound right. And I'm like, he had this kind of sketchy location behind a grocery store off a side road next to and they're looking at me like, I go, no, it was cool, though. It was cool. I'm like, it sounds kind of squatchy, but it was actually cool.
Yeah.
I said what he did inside and what he kind of created there, people found him.
Yeah.
And they kind of found a nice, warm, inviting place that made good beer.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was super sketch, and it was hard to get there, and you had to drive past some, what I call, mountain color.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was one particular, that was all low-income housing.
Yeah, it was.
That one family had a above-ground swimming pool in the front yard.
Yeah.
And clothes were optional some days, so the customers got quite the show.
Yeah,
coming in.
It was. You had to earn a beer at the original Bear Waters.
And once you got there, though, and you got inside, it was always funny to see people come through the doors that had never been, because the first thing you would notice is that instant sense of relief, like, oh, thank
God,
God.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And is there security?
Yes. It's not as sketchy on the inside as it is on the outside.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that Bear Waters was not your original name.
Correct.
It was Headwaters.
Yeah.
And then there was the issue with Victory Brewing, and they
first landmine I stepped on.
Yeah, that was the beer business, as you know, is it's difficult to trademark anything because there's somebody else that has already trademarked that.
Yeah.
It's just whether it's a beer name, whether it's whatever it happens to be. I mean, you've really got to be super original, which is why some breweries have just gotten crazy kind of fun with their names, like some of the other ones around the Asheville area you've seen, like Burial and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like a title. It's like it's half a phrase because that's the only way to guarantee that beer has not been named that already.
Exactly.
It's like the existential clown of the universe.
Yeah.
Well, is that a saison? What exactly is that? I'm not sure what style that would be. But a lot of breweries are now doing that, and it's kind of fun, but it's also kind of necessary.
Yeah, for sure. And for us, that was the first major learning curve, because I had done the research when I started the company, because Haywood County is a headwaters county. All the water flows out of this county.
Right.
So hey, that's a great name for a brewery. Did some research. There had been a brewery called Headwaters in Colorado that closed down before we opened.
Sure.
The name was available. I copywrote the name, but I didn't trademark it. Yeah. And so, we started that way, and 6 months in, get a nasty letter from a Pennsylvania attorney saying, hey, I represent Victory Brewing Company, and we've got a beer called Headwaters, and you got a cease and desist. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I remember talking, to Bill Kovaleski on the phone. And I'm like, man, you don't understand. I'm like tiny. I'm brewing beer like 1 keg at a time over here. I'm not a threat to you guys. And he was all about, trying to be amicable, but, he's also explaining to me, look, I have shareholders, and, I have obligations to the shareholders to protect my, intellectual property, and I just got to ask you to stop. And I thought, this is for real.
Yeah, it's the darker side of beer. I mean, some of the lawsuits that have come around have been ridiculous. Two Bells has been involved in some. Locally with innovation. Yep. My former employer, Catawba, was involved in a silly one with Monster. Yeah. Because of something that had not, I mean, you can't confuse an energy drink with an IPA in any universe. Right. And the names were only half. I mean, it didn't make any sense at all. Yeah. It had to do with an IPA that they'd rename. It was the Hopness Monster. Yeah. And so Monster Energy drink. People are going to confuse. Yeah. Hopness Monster IPA with Monster Energy drink.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a little stretchy.
So no one is allowed to even use the word monster or something anymore. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. So that's beer. That is, and actually that's business.
It is, and you learn and you move on, and you just know that that's part of the landscape, and so you just try to do the best you can to not step on somebody else's toes. But there's so much out there. It's a full-time job onto itself. But we've learned. We got a good attorney now that watches out for our trademark stuff as well. And it's kind of funny, as a matter of fact, all the things we've trademarked just came up for renewal, and I'm like, has it been that long already? And I guess it has. And so we're in the process of renewing our claim to all of our intellectual properties as well. So yeah, so that's part of it. And but yeah, being part of this community in Western North Carolina has been interesting for us. I mean, we obviously started out at the same time as some of the bigger breweries that you know of in Asheville, as a different time 10 years ago, but very fraternal, but also pretty cool. I mean, and there's still some of those guys are still connected to us. We had that flood here this past year, and first person I heard from was Wicked Wheat. How can we help? What can we do? And
I know you had a keg exchange thing going on there. Didn't they hold some of your kegs, or
they did? They took our inventory that was salvageable and held it for us in their cold storage, which was fantastic. I mean, what a cool thing, and helped us out with that. And even Highlands came to stepped up. They helped replace some of our kegs that we lost.
It was a horrible thing that happened with the floods in the Pigeon River, just outside your door. But in a way, I think, did it kind of bring the community together a little bit?
Absolutely.
And you were almost right in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, it was super humbling to show up knowing what I was going to face. I mean, obviously, when I was in the military eons ago, I was in Homestead when Andrew hit Homestead. And I'll never forget, returning to base the day after the storm and witnessing that devastation the day after, and you think, my God, you see Flightline Jeeps that were picked up and thrown through a second-story office building, and you go, where do we start cleaning up? Yeah. And so, it kind of brought back some of those memories for me when I showed up for the flood. But the difference was there was an army of volunteers from the community that were like, here, how can we help?
Had people here making food.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, this was almost kind of the home base, it looked like, for a lot of the operations that were taking place, you know, upriver and whatnot.
Yeah, well, it was important to us, too, to facilitate that because, you know, some of these relief groups that came from out of the area were looking for a location that had power. And fortunately, because we were built to flood code here, we were one of the only businesses in Canton that still had power after the flood because our panel boxes were all above flood grade. So we were able to accommodate them and put them out here with facilities that were still operational to some degree. And it was important for us to continue the community involvement that we have and let them serve our neighbors and our customer base with relief. And so I feel really proud that we were able to do that part. But it was, you know, also really humbling to see people come back and put on muck boots and shovel 12 inches of mud out of our basement, you know, and you're thinking, why are these people helping me? You know, and then it occurs to you, this business is more than just a business. It's a part of it's a fixture in the community that people, I can't tell you how many people said to me, it's so important to us that you survive.
Yeah, and it even became more of an anchor, I think. There's probably people that experienced Bear Waters for the first time following that, and now they're going to be, you know, coming back here as long as you're here, I think. And that's certainly not any part of your business model, but, you know, being part of the community is. And that's, you know, that this kind of thing, it just, and then you start seeing friendly faces, and when you come to work, it's friends that are coming to have a beer here. And then they see other friends that are here. And in a community like Canton, it's a smaller town. And it's a town that's had its ups and downs.
For sure.
You know, and hopefully it's on the ups after that, but that's another big down.
Yeah.
And, you know, but things like that can rally a community.
They can. I mean, I feel like, you know, there's also the danger, and I've felt it a little bit here since the flood. I feel like we're dangerously close to maybe, you know, entering into a little bit of a depression again, only because it's taken so much out of the community.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we just had our annual strategic planning meeting yesterday with the company, and, you know, one of the topics is how do we pump some energy back into the community too, so that we don't lose that momentum. Not only as a business, but as a community. How do you, you know, get the morale back up, you know, get people to hold on to hope. You know, that was the worst timing because you have a flood in the late summer, early fall.
Yeah.
And then you go right into winter, right? And so that's just the worst case scenario. Yeah,
late summer, early fall is, for anybody in food and bev, and especially here, that's your biggest time of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you lose all that business, and then you're, you know, spending money actually to kind of recover.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen, and I'm sure people integrally involved in Canton and its future probably are hopeful for this, and maybe can't see it as much as somebody from the outside that doesn't have a vested interest. I think it's a matter of time before Asheville finds Canton. And when I say that, expensive housing and, you know, all these things that so far to this point has really just been pushed south of Asheville.
Right.
So all those towns, all those communities, Arden, Fletcher, Mills River, even, et cetera, have experienced a lot of the growth. It's only a matter of time before people figure that it's only 20 minutes to get to Canton. I always allow myself more time than I realized to get here.
Yeah.
You know, when I knew, okay, I got to be out there to see Kevin at noon, I'm like, I got to get myself, and it's always less than it really is.
Right.
It always takes me less time than I think.
Yeah.
I got here in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
20. You can't get 3 exits in I-26 in 20 minutes.
You got that right.
I mean, I'm here to tell you, we did the traffic this morning, and there was 4 wrecks, and nobody was going anywhere. And I'm like, you know what? People in Canton, you could live in Canton and work in Asheville. And I think that's one of the things that will probably happen. Whether or not old school Canton wants that to happen, I don't know.
It's happening.
But it's going to happen, whether you like it or not. You know, but the housing prices here are reasonable. You can still get land.
Yep.
And it's really a matter of time, I think, before the area around you develops. You just need a few more of these.
Yeah.
You know, just a few more where it's not like we're going to Bear Waters and then we're going home.
Right.
You know, you need a Bear Waters, and hey, we can also stop by so-and-so and get hey, we can get fish and chips there, and then, you know, a drink over there, and then stop by Bear Waters for whatever, or just so there's a destination. There's 4, 5, 6, 7 places.
Yeah.
And I know that Canton used to be that back in the day.
Yeah. What year did you know, just for the people that are tuning and listening a little bit to hear your background? I mean, obviously, I've known you most notably for your radio personality.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, I've got this crazy bromance with your voice. I've actually put it, you know.
Creeping me out, man.
Well, you know, when I had COVID, I was actually sitting there, you know, making a list of, like, what would if I passed away, like, what do I want my, you know, funeral to be like? So I was kind of mapping it out.
Are you leaving me all the beer?
Well, actually, what I did say,
die?
I said, I told my wife, I was like, look, you got to find Rick. I want him to do the voiceover on my eulogy.
Like the Morgan Freeman of the...
Yeah. And so I put $20 in an envelope. I'm like, this should cover it. And I just...
You could just leave me a tab. I mean, that'd be fine, too. I would do it for a tab.
And, you know... speaking of that, I mean, like, so you're on the radio, and I'm new to this podcast. Like, this has been fun, and you know, my son's helping me, he's coaching me. You know, he's more up on this stuff than I am, and you know, we do a review over each episode and like what you could do better to get better at it.
Yeah, and editing is important. You can edit a lot of this stuff out. You know this, right?
Yeah, he knows
this. Yeah, editing.
He does know
like
this.
The first 10 minutes can probably just go away.
So, I mean, he's super on top of it, but it's really weird when I sit back and look at the episodes with him as he's going through the editing process, and then you hear your own voice, and you're like, wait, that doesn't sound like me at all. So, do you have that same phenomenon as a radio personality?
Nope.
You listen to your voice and you go,
because in particular in Nashville, my voice is everywhere, so it's kind of. It's on commercials. It's on this. It's on that. I don't even think of it anymore.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the short version of my story for people that aren't familiar. I got here in '99.
Okay.
I moved here from Fayetteville. I was working at a radio station there, and moved here in February of '99. As a matter of fact, so I guess we're kind of coming up on an anniversary of sorts.
Yeah.
The only reason I remember is like, I don't even know why, but for some reason Valentine's Day stands out as like I just arrived or something. I don't know. But it was February of '99. I met my wife later that year at a Buffalo Bills backers bar. She wasn't even from Buffalo, but she was a Bills fan because of friends.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of romance took off. We got married in '01. So we just experienced our 20th anniversary.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been in radio here off and on now, I guess you would say, for 21 years. I left for 3 to run Catawba Brewing Company's Palmetto Brewing location in Charleston. And I've also done public address on, Asheville Tourist for 17 seasons.
Yeah.
A lot of people, actually, it's funny still how many people ask me about that.
Yeah.
That little small part of my life that, you know, was just a side job. I did over 1,000 games, and I got a talking bobblehead out of the deal, though. So that's, you know, you can have your Nobel Prize.
There you go.
I've got a talking bobblehead.
That is
Take
tight.
that, Obama.
That's so tight.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
The battery's out on it, though, so I'd give you one. It doesn't talk anymore, unfortunately. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, I want one of those. But to speak to the longevity of like your career, I remember being a little kid when he first started the first ever location of Fairwaters. And it was before we even opened the tap room. It was just when it was the brewery side. And I would go in after school, you know, he'd pick me up and then take me to the brewery. And that's basically where I lived my entire childhood. But I remember he would play Rock 104.9 on the radio. And I remember hearing your voice even as a little kid. So that's just like speaking to the longevity of like, you know, being 22 years old now and like still here. I'm like, that's cool.
Just getting old, man. Just getting old. It was in the signal. So I was on the same basic station for like 15 years, but it kept changing. So it was based on where our tower was and all the different things that was going on.
Yeah.
So for a long time, though, we were Rock 104.9. And we were actually based on Chambers Mountain, which is not far from here.
Yeah.
We were on Chambers Mountain in Haywood County. And so we were screaming into Canton, Waynesville, and had a lot of listeners out here. Love to come out here. People out here are my people. You know, I'm a Carhartt wearing, knife packing, NASCAR watching, beer drinking guy. Even though I came from Buffalo, that's really who I am, you know.
Right.
I'm no fancy pants at all. I'm the furthest thing from fashionable, and I mean, right now I'm just wearing a stupid T-shirt and a flannel. I mean, that's you know, so that's who I am, and so Haywood County is kind of my people.
Sure.
More so than Asheville. I mean, it's just that's where I live and work, but those are really not my people, especially not downtown. You know, Pritchard Park and all that stuff. It's a colorful place, and I'm all for it, and people expressing themselves, not even judging. But this is my people out here.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed coming out here a ton. Had a lot of listeners out here, a lot of fun times out here. And then over the years, it was 104.9, it was 105.1, it was one time it was 104.3 and 104.9.
I remember that.
That was when it was we had a tower in Old Fort and a tower here, and we had tons of listeners. At that point, we covered the whole area.
Yeah.
So all of that happens, and then in August of 17, I lose my job with my station at iHeart when they basically fire people for fun.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
And their logo is a heart. I love that.
Yeah, it's the insiders iHeartless. Everyone calls them that because they do not care.
Yeah.
They're just the worst, and I got no bitterness towards them. I really don't. I know it sounds like I do, but I really don't. When they let me go in August of 17, I was burnt out and done. Because they kind of slowly remove your soul from your person, like a little bit at a time with the things that they do.
Yeah.
And by the time that happened, I almost exhaled. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool. Radio's done. What's next?
Yeah.
Because I'd done radio at that point for 25 years.
Wow.
And I'm just like, you know what? I've done a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I think I'm decent at it, had a fun time, but I can do something else. And the opportunity to run a brewery actually came just by surprise. I was just meeting with a whole bunch of people that I knew.
Yeah.
And Catawba had just purchased Palmetto.
Yeah.
And I congratulated Billy Pyatt on that.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, let's talk about that. And next thing you know, we're actually talking about that.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm horrible with math, right? And you're asking me to kind of run I go, do you got somebody there that can handle the accounting side? Because I have no idea about closing down for the night and making the numbers match up. He goes, I need you to do other stuff. I need you to be you. And I need you to, talk to the community in Charleston because that's what we need.
Yeah.
And so it was working really well until stupid COVID came along, which ruined a lot of lives and actually took a lot of lives. So I'm not being flippant, but that's what happened. Then I lost the job there, and then just taking a deep breath again. And I've always been grateful for the Lord and what He's done for me, and I was not nervous in the least. I'm like, you know what? He'll provide. Something will come up, and it did.
Yeah.
And an old friend called me and said, now that you're officially not under contract, which a couple of times I was when he had tried to get me away previously, Neil Sharp from Asheville Radio Group, he says, I'd love to have you come back to radio and do a morning show on the mountain.
That's cool.
And I hadn't thought about actually doing radio again. I hadn't. I was looking at other jobs and staying in Charleston.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, you know what? Why am I fighting so hard to do what I've done my whole life?
Yeah, so, like doing the math in my head real quick, you're saying, at that point you were in it for 20, 25 years. So you started the radio gig when you were in your early 20s.
Yes, right out of college. That's why I went to college. I went for communications.
Yep.
I wasn't sure exactly which direction I would go.
Yeah.
The college that I went to, Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania, had a great communications department with an actual TV station, radio station, theater department, all of that. So I just figured I would do everything and see what worked.
Yeah.
And out of there, I did a couple of other jobs and then got my first job in radio in probably 91. So, 90 or 91.
Wow.
So way back then. And then I just started moving from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. You know what? It looked like Canton.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny mill town, a little tiny town in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
With a river running right through it, right through the middle.
How about that?
And so in a town of, I don't know, what's your population here? It was 12,000.
Yeah, there were like 8 here, I think.
Very similar towns, though. Had a downtown and whatever. I walked to work.
Yeah.
I was that close.
Yeah.
So I started in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. I went to Joplin, Missouri. Then to Evansville, Indiana, then to Fayetteville, and then to Asheville, and then, of course, different job, Charleston, now back to Asheville. So.
And you were born in
Buffalo.
Just
north of Buffalo, North Tonawanda.
So you are, so talking about that, we were jawing a little bit about football before then. So this year, baby, holy crap.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of teams. So we have 3 named famous games that are associated with the Buffalo Bills. There's the other ones you think about are the Immaculate Reception,
right,
with Franco Harris.
Yep.
The Catch with Montana. And
yep.
So there's games. There's like a handful of those in NFL history. The Ice Bowl.
Yeah.
With Green Bay Packers. The Bills have 3, and we're at the losing end of all 3. So there's wide right.
Yeah.
There's what they call the Music City Miracle, which we do not call it that in Buffalo.
Right.
We call it something else entirely.
Yep.
And now there's, I guess, what they'll call 13 seconds.
So what do you call the Music City Miracle in Buffalo? I'm just out of curiosity.
Forward pass.
The forward pass.
It was,
I remember that game.
They analyzed that one time, the lateral that wasn't a lateral. And it literally, they took all the angles, and it was not a lateral. It was a forward pass. And because of that, we lost.
You and I, we kind of are in that same boat together, because I finished my stint in the military in '93, came up out of Homestead, and then went back to Jacksonville where my family was living at the time, and the Jaguars got their team in '95.
Yes.
And I was in college. I went back to school to get my degree so I could go ahead and go on with a career. Wasn't planning on staying in Jacksonville forever, but I definitely was at the time studying nursing at the college there in Jacksonville. And I remember at that time my dad was working for First Union, which was a bank, which became Wachovia later on, and he was downtown. And he called me one day while they were in the process of putting the team together in '95, and I was about to graduate. He said, "Why don't you come down to my office? I want you to meet somebody." I said, "All right." So I drove downtown and went to the bank building and sat in the boardroom areas, and in comes Mark Brunell.
Oh.
And at that time, Mark and I are the same age, and
I guess
I'm thinking, I'm getting ready to graduate college. This joker just signed a $7 million contract, to throw football.
I'm in the wrong profession.
I'm in the wrong business. But he was super cool. He treated me like we were college buddies. I mean, he was super humble, and I thought his personality was super cool. And anyway, became a Jaguar fan at that point. But it's so funny because I think over the years, you and I have shared that pain, obviously, because we got all the way to the AFC Championship game after you guys gave up the Music City Miracle. The Titans came back and beat us in the AFC Championship game and knocked us out of the Super Bowl. So I'm still bitter about that too. So our fates were kind of tied together on that one. But watching that game last week, I think our family, we become a secondary Bills Mafia family when we see those guys. And Josh Allen, the way he took that ball down the field in 43 seconds.
It's painful to be a Bills fan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like other teams have it just too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great to win like 7 championships like Brady or whatever, but
it's obnoxious.
If you're a Patriots fan or whatever, you just expect to win, but they get mad. They literally get mad and get all depressed when they lose. I'm like, that's not. Yeah. You're gonna lose. Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yes.
At some point.
It's just like you shouldn't be mad when you lose. That's kind of miserable. You expect to win every time, and if you don't win, you're mad. I mean, come on.
So take me through your mindset. We're there. You guys score the go-ahead touchdown. You got 13 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
Right. And Mahomes gets the ball back on the 25-yard line. Now, a couple of questions come to mind for me. Like one, why not a squib kick to take more seconds off the clock?
A lot of people have said that, and I was okay with it not being one. I would have been okay with it being one. So here's the thing. Tyreek Hill was back to receive that. Yeah. He'd already run him back for 50, 60 yards in a punt.
That's true.
And he's incredibly talented. And there's no guarantee. I've seen those things go squirrely and sideways.
Right.
So there was no guarantee that's a way you could have gone.
Right.
And I would have been okay with that. But, I mean, how often do you really practice that particular play to make it successful? Yeah. Or do you risk a big return?
Right.
So I was okay with kicking it into the end zone. I was thinking squib kick, but I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You've got 13 seconds.
Right.
You should be able to prevent a team from going 45, 50 yards in 13 seconds.
Yeah, I'm thinking one guy, Kelsey.
It's
all you got to do is cover Kelsey, right?
Well, actually, there's a lot of things they could have done.
Yeah.
They literally could have tackled them off the line of scrimmage and gotten holding penalties.
Yeah. Hey.
They would have burned 5 seconds. Yep. You get a 5-yard penalty. They could have. It's no different than fouling a guy in basketball when he needs to hit a 3-pointer before he get a chance to shoot. I mean, it seems like, that's poor sportsmanship. No, it's just strategy.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They could have done that, or they just could have pressed him off the line. Yeah. They lined up in this weird prevent defense. If you look at an image of what the defense they played, they guarded against the sidelines.
Yeah.
Why did you guard against the sidelines? Kansas City had 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
They had timeouts. You didn't need to guard the sidelines.
Yeah. Strange.
It was very strange, and the coaching staff didn't really explain it afterwards, which is kind of depressing for Bills fans. It's like, we're looking for some closure, dude. And all he would say was poor execution. And that's all he would say is, like, I don't think he wanted to throw somebody on the bus, probably his defensive coordinator, but it was bad.
I almost lost my voice because I was freaking out. I thought you were there. I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And then you watch Mahomes go down in 13 seconds into field goal range. And
all the props in the world to him, though. I mean, he had to do that to make it happen. I mean, he could have missed. So Mahomes was great that game. Allen was great that game.
Yeah.
It was just a shame that the game ended the way it did. With you knew that who was ever going to win the coin toss was going to win the game.
That's another topic. But obviously,
Yeah,
that rule sucks. But
I don't blame it. We
but
should have
then
been able to stop
deja
them.
vu this week with
Right.
the
Yep.
Bengals, right?
Did you know that the interception from Mahomes occurred at 13 seconds?
That's crazy.
So they had the ball
Yeah.
for 13 seconds of overtime. It's some kind of
Yeah.
magical number now that's floating in the ether.
Oh.
So 13 seconds.
I did not know this.
Bills had to hold on for 13, and Mahomes did that in 13. So, I mean, it's just the way it's football, man. That's why they play these games. It's like the best team doesn't always win.
Well, I was definitely trending with that hashtag Remember Josh Allen during that game. And those poor Chief fans thought they had it wrapped up at the coin toss on that second game, man.
They did. They actually tweeted it. The official tweet from the Kansas City Chiefs, we won the toss. As if, yeah, well, you won the toss. you didn't win the game yet.
Yeah.
It's great that you won the toss. You didn't win the game. But we'll be fine next year. We'll have more fun watching the Bills. I mean, it's just, it's great. The Mafia is just, Mafia means love, means family. So
There you go.
it's just kind of, it's great being a Bills fan. It's painful. It is painful, but you're all in.
Yeah.
You know, you're all in.
So you've come back to Asheville and you've built are you building a house or are you still working?
We tried.
You tried to build a house.
And I'll try and keep all these brief. Otherwise, this could be the longest podcast in the history.
Right.
But we actually had bought a lot.
Yeah.
We bought a nice lot in Leicester, and then it was a new community. It was a dead-end road of only 10 homes. They're all about almost 3/4 of an acre, and this really, you couldn't expand into it or onto it. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
So we bought that. We actually hired the builder. We did all of that. We designed the house. They knew the budget. We knew the budget that was in. The bids came back $150,000 more than budget just because of the cost of materials and labor.
You're not kidding.
So we just had to bail on it. I'm like, I'm not paying that.
I went into Lowe's the other day and I looked at a 2x4. I was just in passing because it's like my new thing to do. Is like, what's the price of a 2x4 this week? And it was like $7.85 for a 2x4.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Remember, they used to be $1.99.
I know,
It's just like, you got to be kidding me.
Almost $8 for a 2x4.
Pretty ridiculous. So yeah, we bailed on that. We sold everything, and we ended up getting very lucky and buying a home. Right near the Buncombe County Sports Park, if you know where that is, I-40 exit 44, that area.
Yeah.
There's this nice neighborhood that is only 2 streets and they're both dead ends, and no one even knows it's there. And it's really quiet. We've met a bunch of neighbors, so I think it's been a blessing. And
good.
You know, we'd moved in around Labor Day, had a chance to meet a bunch of them. Hopefully now with spring and summer coming, we'll meet even more, have a chance to ingrain ourselves in it. But
fantastic.
But love being back here. You know, the beach is one thing.
Yeah.
I've always said, I'd love to visit. I don't want to live there.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
You know, I like
rule,
to look around. I love the mountains.
Yeah.
I like to be able to drive down the street and look. In the distance is mountains. I don't know, something about that is calling me.
Yeah, I've been here now. I moved here in '95, so been here. What is that? 26, 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible to me how I can still drive down 40 certain days or come down 1923 into the Waynesville area and see the mountains and all around me at sunset or something, and just it still takes my breath. It's like, God, I live in such a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's the truth. And some of the views you get from some of the strangest places, like you wouldn't, like an intersection, like a random intersection. One of the greatest views in all of the Asheville area, there's actually 2 or 3 of them right on Patton Avenue, like Smoky Park Highway.
Yeah.
If you're going west, you're looking in the distance, and you're seeing what does Stacy call them? The husband and wife, or what, the married. They look like it when the snow. It's like it's a bride and groom.
Yeah.
So the bride and the groom on those mountains there in the distance on Pisgah.
Yeah.
And you're going the other way, and you see Grove Park Inn.
Yeah.
Based on that, or you're going down 40 and then you see Old Fort Mountain, or it's just, there's, every time you look around there's this beautiful mountain. And to me, that's, when you live down in the low country and the beach, it's great. But the only time you actually are seeing the ocean is when you're at the ocean. So if you live 2 miles inland, well, you're not seeing the ocean.
Right.
You know, how often do you actually see it? Here, you see the mountains every day.
That's a great point.
And they're always surrounding you and stuff. So,
yeah.
But let's talk about your beer. You're talking about me too much.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Like I said, I got a bromance with you. So.
Get your hand off my leg. It's creepy.
That's warm.
And this is empty. Can I get
Can we get another refill? Absolutely. We'll get you a refill. That's funny that you picked that beer, because I believe that's actually one of the beers that we spilled on your soundboard when we came in and did.
I think you're right. I remember it was Asheville Beer Week, and you brought a bunch in.
Yeah.
And we were pouring some, and next thing you know, we're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
What? Oh, I hope that doesn't fry it.
My one brewer guy that was working for me at the time knocked it over, and it like went right on.
I remember that. That was hysterical.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you came into the old studios at the other location during an Asheville Beer Week event. And, I remember
behind
that.
the old strip club there.
Yeah. Which is now an axe throwing facility.
There you go.
It's Asheville for you.
There you go.
I mean, it's the Asheville journey. But I know I've enjoyed seeing you guys and what you've done here. I remember when you just opened this.
Yeah.
I think that's the same turtle that was in there before.
It is. These things are getting big, too. And, turtles, I don't know if you know much about turtles.
I didn't know much until Charleston. We had hundreds in our backyard.
Yeah.
And we had snapping turtles.
Okay.
And painted and boxed turtles. We had all of them.
Yeah.
And we would feed them lettuce.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That looks lovely. Look at the head on that. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's a nice pour. So, I love turtles. They're hysterical.
Yeah. Well, we've kept these guys. They were given to us. They were at the school, and then the school didn't want them anymore because they didn't have anybody to keep tabs on them. So we ended up adopting them from the school, and they've gotten bigger and bigger. But turtles are almost as bad as like dogs and cats. I mean, the amount of waste and food that they consume.
Yes.
We have to change that tank constantly, and it's kind of funny to watch. I mean, and they're ravenous.
Yeah, we had a little canal behind our house, and it got to the point where when they would see either me or my wife coming that way, and they would be nowhere near, you would see them start to swim towards us.
Yeah.
From like far away. They knew the drill.
Yeah.
And we learned from some neighbors. We didn't know this, but you can't throw them like bread and things like that. You have to give them things that occur in nature.
Yeah.
So like they loved romaine lettuce. So you get towards the end of like a whatever, and you throw it to them. They loved it.
Yeah.
They would eat everything. So we also had a mole problem. We're getting way off banter now, but this is a great story. So James Island, where I lived in Charleston, is famous for their moles. There are moles everywhere, and you can't stop them because the soil's very loose.
Yeah.
It's very loamish. It's kind of like a sandy thing. So they can just zip. They just shoot right through, right? Nothing's stopping them. It's not like this clay stuff where it takes them a while to get from here to there.
Yeah.
You can literally see them moving. It's like a cartoon. So one time I caught one with my hand.
Okay.
I happened to have garden gloves on, right? Some leather garden gloves.
Yeah.
And I see this thing moving. I just reach into the ground. I mean, I felt like, I don't know, Thor or something. And I grabbed this thing and I'm like, oh my God, I actually caught it. And I'm like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm holding this mole, and they're the ugliest things. You ever see one up front?
Oh, yeah.
So ugly, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now what, right? I'm like, yeah, I could bash his head. But I'm like, that's just messy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to give you one shot, buddy. Let's see if you can swim. So I threw him in the back, right?
Yeah.
And so here come I see the snapping turtles moving towards him. And
Oh.
I did not know that they would eat meat, so to speak. I haven't done much research on it.
They're carnivores.
So they get close, and they're just kind of looking at him. And he's actually weirdly, almost like he had a broken wheel, he was swimming in circles. And so all of a sudden, one of them takes a nip, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, ooh. And another one takes a nip, and next thing you know, it's a shark feeding frenzy. It was the nastiest thing I've ever seen. At that point, I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, if I'd have known that was going to happen, I never would have done that. I just would have figured out another way.
You're like, holy moly, holy moly.
But no, your turtles are great.
Yeah, I mean... It's kind of funny you say that because we just did a vacation after Christmas. Our family, my sisters from Florida, come up and we met in Tybee, and we rented a beach house at Tybee, and they had this strange like boardwalk pond thing behind the house we were staying, the beach house, and I've never seen anything like this in my life. But this pond was absolutely filled with turtles.
Yeah.
And it was like creepy because they had these like beady little black eyes, and they were all about the size of a dinner plate, right?
Yeah.
And you get on the boardwalk, and all of a sudden they all just start surfacing, and the entire pond is covered with turtles.
Isn't it weird?
And they're just staring at you like, all right, what's up? What you got? You know?
They're fully expecting you to be feeding them. At that
And
point.
I'm like having all these visions of don't fall off the boardwalk into the turtle pond.
Yeah, no kidding. We had a whole bunch of wildlife down there. That's the one thing I miss about down there where we lived.
Yeah.
We had, there was actually otters in the creek behind us, which was cool.
Yeah.
They wouldn't show up very often. They were kind of, elusive. But, we had otters. We had osprey. We had eagles. We had an alligator. We had the turtles.
Yeah.
The wildlife that you see down there is way different than the wildlife here.
For sure.
Here we just got annoying bears.
Yeah.
But down there you actually see everything, and they're not really, troublesome. They're just kind of really cool.
Yeah.
We had hawks that would sit right on our fence and just look at us eating lunch with whatever they caught.
Wow.
I've seen them catch a snake.
Yeah.
And then just eat it like right in front of you. It's just very primeval down there.
Yeah, it's kind of different for sure.
It is. It's a different world down there. It's very jungle-ish.
Yes.
But I'm loving being back though. We came back. Been back a little over a year.
Yeah.
It was last year November. So November of 20, came back, and so just instantly felt like I belonged home here again.
Yeah. So your plans are to stick around for a while,
yeah.
stay on the radio?
I don't know about any of that. Nobody can control what happens in their future. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The only thing about it that's not good is there's nothing normal about waking up at 3:45. There's nothing normal about
I did that once in my life. That was during boot camp.
It just
and when I graduated boot camp, I said I'll never do that again.
There's nothing normal about it.
Yeah.
It just your body doesn't like it.
Yeah.
You've got to get a nap every afternoon. Here in about an hour or two, I will fall asleep for an hour, and there's just no way you can't.
Yeah.
But this will help. This tasty beverage. This will help send me on my way.
There you go.
But yours is all warm and whatever.
No, it's good.
Geez, you think as the boss they would give you an hour or something.
Well, that's all right. I'm good.
So what are your plans here? We have 2 locations now.
Getting ready to add a third.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we bought a 20,000 square foot building in Waynesville.
Nice.
So check this out. Started in Waynesville. Getting ready to go back. We'll have a location in each of the 3 towns in Haywood County.
Where in Waynesville?
So right over by the Walmart shopping center.
Okay.
There is a big warehouse that's sat there for years.
So what they would call West Waynesville.
South. They call it South Main now.
South Main is the term.
West
Okay.
Waynesville, but South Main.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure how that's really comes together and computes.
Well, I-26 is technically an east-west road, but it goes north-south.
Yeah,
so
very strange.
Figure that out.
Yeah, same guy probably got the directions on this deal.
Yeah.
But this building is super cool. It was built in the 50s, very similar to this period. It was the old original Dayco warehouse that was part of the Dayco factory that sat where the Walmart is now. Built like a fortress. But our plans with it, it's a wide open floor plan, 2 floors, 10,000 square foot on each floor.
Wow.
So it's a massive structure.
So you'll be brewing there as well, I would imagine.
Not initially. What we want to do with it right now, it would make a fantastic brewery, but the building is set up perfectly for it. Same really high ceilings and all that on both floors. But I think, what we've realized, the community needs something more. And so our vision with this is to kind of do almost a Dave and Buster's model. Like we're going to put in a kitchen and some taps over there.
Sure.
And then we're going to do 8 lanes of indoor cornhole. We're doing an axe throwing parlor in there as well.
All right.
We're going to have a killer arcade over there.
Nice.
And so pool tables, ping pong.
Real family friendly type place.
Yeah. So a lot of activities. Just something fun, where you can go on a date night and have a couple of really good drinks and some food and hang out and play. But we think what's going to be fun, I'm actually going to install AstroTurf inside the building.
What?
So, like when we clear the cornhole area, when we're not doing tournaments or league night there for cornhole, indoor dodgeball, indoor soccer.
Oh, man.
Some fun stuff, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so it'll be really recreational based, and I'm super pumped about it. Because, we started getting the idea because when we first got the building, I was approached by a couple of people that wanted to buy it from me. So one guy's like, I'm going to put an indoor go-kart track in here. You know, it's big enough for that.
Yeah, good.
And I thought, well, that's interesting. So what could we do that would, you know, bring the craft beer culture into more of an activity? Yeah, I think Highwire's done a good job of that with some of their tap rooms. They've done some, you know, activity space for customers and their kids.
Sure.
You know, and of course now craft beer drinkers typically come with a family.
Yeah,
so.
and I think most people now, they're expecting more than just to show up with some chairs and some tables. It's just kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that'll be great. I think you got Waynesville Country Club down the
It's right across the street, yeah.
So you get the fancy set there with their pinkies out, playing some cornhole and for the round of golf.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put an indoor golden tee, a couple of those in there, so that so they can you know, play with that.
That sounds great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so super pumped about that. We're hoping to have that on later this year, April May timeframe. Been over there working on that structure, and so that's kind of our big reveal for 2022. You know,
never a dull moment.
Yeah, right. So. It's,
you don't want to get too complacent. I mean,
yeah, well, you know what they say: if you're not growing, you're dying, or something like that. But I mean, the reality is, it's just great. You know, Haywood County's been our bread and butter, and we're super pumped to continue to expand the footprint here in our community. And it's a lot of fun. The beer's been fun. We've been doing some great stuff with it. This is our 10th year anniversary, so we're going to do a big shindig in June for that. And the guys are doing a super cool project this week. The brewers put their heads together. They're going to do a 10-hour boil imperial stout that we're going to barrel age so it's going to be a pretty nifty 10-year anniversary beer we're releasing.
Yeah,
so,
very nice.
Yeah, so they're going to split the shift. One's going to stay on there for 5 hours, and then the other guy's going to jump on, and he's going to finish it out and knock it out. And so, yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Let me put this in your ear for, like, one of the locations. Cool Ship. Get a Cool Ship.
A Cool Ship, huh?
Have you not heard about a Cool Ship? Open air fermenting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to think outside the box here. Just trying to get crazy. Since we've had some winters, we've actually had some winter weather.
We have.
You could get away with a Cool Ship in one of these locations. Hardly anyone has done one of those.
Don't say that too loud, because if Sean downstairs in R&D hears you, he's gonna want to jump on that.
Yeah, they're kind of expensive.
And another cool product line we're releasing this year. We just got it all through testing, shelf stable, tastes amazing. We're going to be doing our own hard lemonade this year.
It's a good idea. I mean, there's some people that don't love beer. I mean, God bless them.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's allowed to be wrong once in their life, and so if they don't like beer, that's fine. But you give them an option.
Yeah.
You know, that way, you could bring a family. I'm not always pigeonholed to women versus men, but there's a lot of women that don't really enjoy the taste of beer, and there's the calories and all of that. So if you can get into the seltzers and the lemonades and the different things and give them an option.
Yeah, I don't want to get too crazy with it, but I mean, the lemonade I think is pretty cool, and it's the way they're doing it with the natural lemon juice and everything. It tastes super good, and, you know, it's one of the things that we brought forth out of the R&D that we do here, and I thought, I could see that working. I
would enjoy that a whole lot more than a seltzer. The seltzers to me are too carbonated.
Yeah.
The carbonation just makes me burp. And I don't like the flavors, to be honest. There's something in the mouthfeel that I don't enjoy.
I'm right there with you. So it was hard to get this by me, even with the lemonade, but I was like, I could do this. This is all right.
Kev's Hard Lemonade, is that they're going to call it?
No, it's going to be called Lightning Bug Lemonade. So
Lightning Bug.
Yeah, so kind of a little homage to the moonshiner thing around here. But
is it a lightning bug or is it a firefly?
Yeah,
that's the old
the
some people
age-old
call
debate.
My wife and I don't agree on that one.
Well, man, I just want to say thanks for being here. This has been a super cool conversation, and it's just cool that you've been alongside of us for these 10 years. I appreciate it.
I've enjoyed coming out here and seeing the growth and just seeing you, and I need to come here more often, quite frankly. So hopefully when the warm weather arises, we'll come out, we'll hang out, get some food, get some beer.
Yeah, make sure you bring your smoking hot wife with you. It's always nice to see her.
Woohoo, smoking hot.
How's Stacy doing, by the way?
She is doing great. Thank you for asking.
She's awesome.
She is loving being back in Asheville. She's an Asheville girl.
Yeah.
I think there's only 9. I think there's actually 9 people that were born in Asheville that still live there.
My son's one of them.
There, maybe 10.
10.
Because the rest are obviously all imports, so it's kind of hard to find a native. But she is one of those.
Yeah.
She is proud to tell people that she was born in the same hospital where she works.
Yeah.
Even though ownership has changed.
Yeah.
And not always for the more popular.
It's super strange. He was born at Mission Hospital, and you know, I was born in New York as well, so out on the island in Nassau County, right? And then
You lost the Long Island accent a long time ago, though.
Yeah, I don't fit in with my home folks up there. When I go up there, they're like, what, "You're the country cousin, right?"
Your words are taking longer to say.
Yeah, so it's a little different, but it's kind of still funny. You would think that having him being a local afforded me some, you know, clemency or something, but he's actually turned on me. He's like, you know,
what?
Yeah, he calls me, what do you call me, Hanky Yankee or Yankee Hanky?
Wow.
Oh, Yankee Hanky.
Yankee Hanky. Oh, jeez.
So
Even if you can't hear the New York accent, it's just New Yorkers give off a certain it's almost like a pheromone that Southerners can detect.
I feel it. Long Island though is different than the city,
right.
And Buffalo is another world. That's not even close.
You guys are northern rednecks.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we are. Yeah, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. We're all just we're the steel mill northern rednecks is all.
Yeah,
we are.
I was definitely way more comfortable up in the Catskills, and my family had property up there. And
yeah,
the Catskills are like, you know, kind of like Appalachia up there in the north. So
it's the same chain. I mean, it's the Appalachian Mountains at the end of it.
I mean, they have junk in their front yards, and you know, the old pickup trucks. You know, they're not New Yorkers.
They don't have all four tires on things. It's the way it is. It's fine.
They deer hunt. You know, I'm right there with them.
Okay.
So it was a natural progression for me to get to the Blue Ridge, right? But yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, always enjoying to come out, and so your son's got a hell of a time editing this thing down to a listenable amount.
I know. He's going to do it.
Good luck to you.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.